All right, happy Monday coming your way on today's Philadelphia 76ers. Now, James Harden trade latest. What is Joel Embiid's future? We'll also get to some intel on a PJ Tucker trade and Daryl Morey's future. Before we take a look at all of that for this loaded show today, make sure you subscribe to the channel. As you can see, 353 people away from 12,000 subscribers. How quickly can we get there? If you're in the market and you're looking for year-round Sixers coverage, this is your go-to spot, so lock us in and hit that subscribe button right now. So Michael Scotto of HoopsHype with a really good article and shared a bunch of insight on the current situation and all of the happenings with this basketball team. So we're going to kind of go subject matter for subject matter here on today's show. Take a look at his reporting, but also I'll share my thoughts as well. And of course, let us know what you think down in the comment section as well. Let's begin here with the latest on James Harden. A little bit of a stale front right now as far as trade rumors go. A lot of NBA teams, executives, players, coaches, they're finally away, actually enjoying some time away from the game of basketball. You think about the marathon that is the basketball season, training camp, regular season starts in October, then you go all the way through the playoffs, NBA finals, draft, free agency, summer league. So now is the time when everybody gets to get their minds off of basketball. That's why there hasn't really been much traction on the James Harden front, but this from Scotto, pretty interesting here. Some with the Sixers were a little bit surprised that James Harden opted into the final year of his player option. To my understanding, the best the Sixers would have considered was something along the lines of a 2-year deal, which would have included a team option, and that type of short-term commitment wasn't going to appeal to James Harden. Harden knew the team he wanted to go to, the Clippers, and the only way to get there and get his money was to opt in because of their restrictions with the salary cap. There's still been dialogue between the two teams. As for Harden and Daryl Morey, it's been a while since they've spoken, and their relationship is done. What's interesting about this is a couple of things, actually. The plan for James Harden all along seemed to be the Clippers are bust. Right when he demanded that trade from Philadelphia, what was the first team that was mentioned alongside the New York Knicks? The Los Angeles Clippers. That has been the destination. That has been the place that Harden has wanted to go all along. And he's tried to strong-arm the Sixers into sending him there using player empowerment as the avenue in which he could go to the place where he feels as though is going to give him money, an opportunity for a really good role, and it's a good basketball team, right? James Harden, that's where he wants to go. Doesn't seem to want to really settle for anything else. And then the other part of that, if true, it's funny how James Harden no longer likes Daryl Morey. They no longer have a relationship. Get over yourself, James Harden. Look, Daryl Morey traded for you when you were a 6-man with the Oklahoma City Thunder. You became an MVP under his watch and one of the best offensive players of all time. He gave you what was at the time the largest contract for any player in the history of the NBA. He leaves Houston. You want out of Houston. You go to Brooklyn. You wanted out of Brooklyn. What did Daryl Morey do? He rescued you. Gave you a great opportunity to compete for an NBA championship. Last year you came up short. This year you came up short. The only reason he didn't communicate with you and your camp during free agency and kept you in the dark is because they wanted to avoid tampering allegations that they got hit with because they made moves 2 off seasons ago to appease you and bring in PJ Tucker and Daniel House. And you have the gusto to not even communicate with Daryl Morey any longer. James Harden is as delusional of a superstar as we've ever seen at the NBA, and that's really saying something because a lot of these guys are pretty sensitive. Should Harden feel disrespected by Morey for keeping him in the dark? Y for yes, N for no. I think it's a pretty soft play. As for Joel Embiid's future, let's get to this from Scotto as well. Maybe this could be a 1-year transition year for Philadelphia with Embiid under contract. The entire league, including the Knicks, who have been waiting to trade for a star player with all that draft capital, will be monitoring Philadelphia's situation, assuming the Sixers trade James Harden. From a team perspective, The Sixers can build around Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, looking ahead as franchise cornerstones, but we've seen what happens if a star player wants out. Loyalty only lasts so long. Damian Lillard demanded a trade from the Portland Trail Blazers after he said that he wasn't going to leave Portland. Bradley Beal seemed to be maybe a lifelong Wizard for whatever reason that he saw. He also asked out. He got his wish. If things go awry, they don't go the Sixers' way, Joel Embiid gets frustrated, he's going to ask for a trade. Now, I do think that it's somewhat smart that if Philadelphia can't get the necessary pieces back in a James Harden trade, to wait until next year to use that money. You don't want to spend that money just for the sake of spending money. Surround Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey next offseason with some legitimate pieces to try to chase that championship, as Joel Embiid is still in the midst of his prime. We know that Daryl Morey, in saying all of that, is going to milk this out. James Harden will not get traded for pennies on the dollar. And if that means that Daryl Morey has to wait a long time until he feels as though he gets back equal value or value that makes sense for Philadelphia, he's not going to feel pressured into making a deal. He's not going to get rushed into making a deal. The return or no return for whatever James Harden can net back can lead to the Sixers having that transition year if they think that Embiid and Maxey can at least be competitive this year, and then they are armored with a bunch of capital going into next offseason to try to land another superstar to chase that ring. You look at Embiid's contract here for 2023-2024 on the books for $46.9 million. Year after that, 50.5, goes up to 54 plus in 2025-2026. After that year, there's a player option. If Embiid opts in, he gets that 58 mil, and if he does opt in, he becomes a free agent at 34 years old. There's a little bit of pressure right now for Philadelphia to try to compete and take advantage of Embiid being in his prime. One, because you know he might ask out. Two, the longevity of a big, especially a big with injury history, doesn't last all that long. So predict it here. Will Embiid finish his career as a Philadelphia 76er? Just give me an F for finish, or O, you think he goes to a different team, another team across the NBA. We want to hear from you down in the comment section once more. As for PJ Tucker here, is he going to get traded alongside Joel Embiid? PJ Tucker, according to Scotto, another guy who could be out the door and was a key player that they brought in recently. James Harden and Tucker are great friends. And remember, Harden gave up about 15 mil for PJ Tucker and Daniel House to be on that Sixers team last year. PJ Tucker, another guy who could be out the door and was a key player they brought in recently. James Harden and Tucker, great friends. You know, that $15 million is obviously pretty notable here that Harden gave up, and that loyalty and that friendship is something that allowed, I think, PJ Tucker and led to him signing with Philadelphia here. And if they could be a package deal to the Clippers, because the Clippers clearly like PJ Tucker to a certain degree, can that appease Los Angeles into making a deal? And can the inclusion of PJ Tucker in that trade net back something that Philadelphia desires? More from Scotto here. As I reported previously on HoopSite, Tucker has come up in trade talks between the Sixers and the Clippers, and the Clippers covet Tucker's ability to guard multiple positions and to defend the league's top opposing scorers. More on that in a second. And, you know, when you think about PJ Tucker, like, that is a reason why the Clippers like him as a player. Because PJ Tucker can guard multiple positions. He has a bunch of playoff level experience, and he could be a valuable component in that deal alongside Harden to make money work, but also to give the Clippers a piece that they want back if they're going to give up, let's say maybe, a Terrence Mann. I'm going to stick by this. I think Tucker, somewhat underappreciated by Sixers fans. Smart teams have valued him. And I thought Philadelphia bringing him in last year, it was smart. They needed defense. They needed a guy who could change the culture. They needed somebody on that roster, not the coaching staff or in that front office, to preach accountability, hold Joel Embiid in check, and that's what he was able to do. But also, Miami Heat wanted PJ Tucker. They brought him in. Smart organization. The Milwaukee Bucks saw an avenue in which bringing in PJ Tucker made sense. He helped them win an NBA championship. So smart teams have valued him, And the Los Angeles Clippers with Ty Lue, smart team, aggressive team, they seem to be interested in him as well. High-level defense, not going to give you a bunch of offense, but that defensive ability certainly is important. This Allen Iverson jersey is 30% off, limited time only. If you head to chatsports.com/Iverson, we'll put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. I used to rock this jersey as a kid, but I had the blue and red jersey, the red and white jersey available too. But if you use that link, you can see a lot of other Sixers merchandise items that are also on sale. To round out the show with Daryl Morey here, Daryl Morey has shown through his executive tenure with the Sixers and Rockets that he's always been able to get star players. If Harden is traded, Morey could go all in on cap space for next summer, try to pair another star with Embiid and Maxey as the core going forward. As Morey looks to tinker with Philadelphia's roster, he's not an executive who's gone through a rebuild. So I wonder how long he could stay with the Sixers, depending on what happens with the Harden trade and potentially a transformative summer for the team in 2024. Daryl Morey is a smart executive. He's made a lot of smart moves. You know, the trading away of that Al Horford contract, Danny Green for DeAnthony Melton. Look, he traded a damaged asset in Ben Simmons, who continues to be a flake, for James Harden. And while Harden was kind of a no-show the last two playoffs outside of a couple of good performances, he overwhelmingly won that trade. If he runs at the face of adversity and dips out, and he did what he did to the Houston Rockets, where he's like, I just need a reset. I need to get a little bit of a breather in my basketball executive career. And then just a little while after, he goes to Philadelphia. That's soft. I want to see him see this through. And if he runs at the first sight of the Sixers, maybe going through a little bit of a transitional phase, that's just somewhat ridiculous. And it goes against him being aggressive, him being smart and savvy, him trying to insert himself as one of the best executives in the game. Like, if you're going to be here for when you were a championship contender, I want to see you, unless you get fired, be here to see what you can do in the rebuilding process to get this team back on track. Then let's see just how smart you are. If you just run once you deal with some difficult times and you don't want to have to be the man in charge of a retinkering or a rebuilding process, I don't have a lot of respect for you if you decide to dip at the face of adversity. So if you made it this far, give me a real one, Real John. Just wanted to pass along the latest Sixers news, rumors, analysis here on the show. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time here on the show.